Hello, and thanks for watching. Apologies for the multitude of Scotch content recently. I think my body wants me to drink as much Scotch as possible before the weather warms up, and I don't want it anymore. In any case, I'm doing a lot of Scotch videos, and I wanted, with this one, to return to a question I had approached previously, which is the question of Springbank substitutes. So I did a video, I will link that up down below, basically making the point that now that Springbank, famous, cool craft distillery in Campbelltown, is basically either grossly overpriced, if not completely unavailable, are there other malts out there that can kind of scratch the same itch, and that are and in that first video, I was looking for stuff that was going to be kind of widely available. And this one, I thought, well, why not scratch that first requirement? Because, well, I'll tell you why I'm doing this. Basically, I wanted to do a video with Glen Scotia, and I wanted to grab the Glen Scotia 15 because I was told by people who know better than I do that was one to grab of the current range. I've tried some of the others. I tried the double cask and the Victoriania, whatever it is, and I didn't like them at all. So I was staying away from officially bottled Glen Scotia, but I was told, no, the 15 is actually pretty good. Go grab it. And I had ambitions to go grab it, and then they all kind of disappeared from Chicago. I'm hoping not because they were snapped up by the collectibles market looking for Springbank substitutes. I'm guessing they just weren't selling well, and they went on closeout. So what I did was I went into my archives, my cupboard where we all keep the bottles we swear we're going to open one day and then never really do. And I grabbed this Glen Scotia, which I bought, I don't know, like 8 years ago. And I thought, well, hell, why stop there? And I started grabbing other bottles that I've been meaning to open for years and I never really bothered with, just for fun, just to see, can I find, in bottles which represent what might still be available in the dusties of your local small shops, or maybe on the auctions at a decent price, if you dare, that could serve as Springbank substitutes. So I will be trying these as normal, giving them a score as normal, but I will also be giving them a marking on the Springbank Substitution Index, which is patented and trademarked by me. So let's start with my trusty, what I used last time to kind of establish a 10 out of 10 Springbankness. This is the Springbank 100 proof for the American market. They bottled, I don't know, like a decade ago now. Springbank on the nose. Very heavy, very briny, kind of nutty, but like both unripe or unroasted and roasted nuts. Complex. Lightly peaty, but the peat is not overwhelming everything. It's just one element among others. Yeah. Waxy, nutty, briny. It just feels kind of heavy. It feels like the first 6 Sabbath albums. Okay, that's my 10. And now we shall see, I will put this aside, which of these, and I will talk about them, can kind of begin to approach the same vibe as that Springbank. All right, what's our line out here? We got a old bottling of Pulteney 17-year-old. I adore Pulteney, and considering I use an Old Pulteney Glencairn in pretty much every video I make, it's long past time. I put them in one of my videos. I got this little half bottle in a tasting set I bought years ago, and now I'm opening it. You can't get the 17 anymore. There is the 15, which I'm told is a similar profile. But the 17, I don't know how the... I imagine you can still get the 17 for reasonable prices on auction, but I don't really know. Let's see, second up. So why is this in here? Well, basically someone in the comments of the first video said, you know what's kind of Springbanky? Is heavily sherried Pulteney. And I thought, that seems like a stretch. And then I thought more about it, and I thought, well, hang on. Pulteney has that maritime character. It has that sort of aggressive lemoniness on occasion, along married with salty, briny minerality. Maybe that's not so nuts. So here it is. Some heavily sherried Springbank, Pulteney 17. Second thought, Jura Prophecy. I'll talk more about this in a minute. Basically, this is Jura from some heavily peated batches they made. Oh God, I don't know. Maybe they started making these maybe around the turn of the 2000s. They've stopped making them now because this is now off the market, so far as I know. But they did make a heavily peated Jura for a while, and I liked it very much. And it has a, I mean, it has the peat thing, right? But it also has a heavy, farmy, weird weight to it that kind of made me think, hang on, maybe this can scratch my Springbank itch. And then there's the Glen Scotia. This is a Signatory, bottled in 91, distilled in 91 and bottled in 2013. I'll give you all the stats in a bit. It is a Binny's pick. Full disclosure, I work for Binny's. I sell wine for Binny's. I don't think corporate cares too much what I have to say about bottle picks they made, 8 years ago. But, I want to be transparent. So I'm going to go basically in order of rising strength. This Glen Scotia is bottled at cask strength, so that's going to go at the end. All right, let's get into this now that I'm like 7 minutes in. All right, so this Springbank in the middle here is my 10 out of 10 on the Springbank Substitution Index. Can't get more Springbanky than Springbank. Let's see how the old Pulteney 17 does. Old Pulteney, 17-year-old single malt Scotch whiskey. This is from Wick. It is the most northerly distillery in mainland Scotland. This particular one is, oh God, I can't read the lot number bottle. It is L12-116-18-12/5059. I'm guessing this is bottled circa 2012. It is unchillfiltered. It is bottled at 46%. No mention of natural color, but, we will deal with that. All right, here we go. Old Pulteney 17. Oh. So what I'm getting is not especially Springbanky on the nose. It smells like a very clean, but very coastal malt. Oh God. What I love about Pulteney, so may I digress a little bit? Glengarry was the first malt I bought, and then there was a couple of other ones after that. Pulteney was the one that made me appreciate delicacy and subtlety in malts. I was chasing Ardbegs and stuff after that. This is the one that kind of flipped the switch for me to really pay attention to the subtle ones, because it's not loud. It's not exploding out of the glass like the Springbank 100 proof was. It's so classy. There's figs. There's sea air. What is that? There's like a... this smells... Do you ever have like... so I have an old cashmere jacket, like a double-breasted greatcoat. This kind of smells like that. It's got... So we're talking dried fruit and sea air, but you're going to throw like a cashmere jacket on top of that. And then like just some beautiful malt and milk balls. There's some fruitiness. Some green apples, blood oranges, oolong tea. Well, more oolong tea leaves than actual oolong tea. Mixed flowers, a couple of walnuts. White pepper, a little bit of white pepper, just very, again, very subtle. Everything with this is subtle and understated, and I just love it. Little hints of fresh ginger. Normally that's something that is a caution flag for me because it indicates, you know, very raw oak, like virgin oak is often. But not in this case. I think this is, the ginger is coming from the distillate. Oh, that's nice. And a little bit of minerality, a little bit of like flintiness, as we would say in the wine world. It's so quiet and subtle, and God, I just love it. Okay, on the palate. So it isn't delivering a particularly Springbanky set of flavors, but it's, how do I put this? Like Springbank, it's a little bit of an ensemble cast. There's lots of little things happening and playing off of each other. There's figs, there's dried orange, Darjeeling tea, wet rocks, that kind of old wool thing. And a lot of maritime notes, like a lot of sea salt. Marmalade, sort of poured on top of malted milk balls. A floral note, like bitter dried flowers. Candied ginger. The finish is actually, how do I put this? It's light. It's a very, you know, it has a very delicate touch again. Orange, pepper, ash. It doesn't hang in for too long, but it feels like it's that's kind of what it wants to do. Like it's very much in character with the rest of the malt. It's just very quietly confident is how I would put it. So I don't feel like taking marks off for the lightness of the finish because the whole malt wants to be light and subtle and understated. I really love this style. Okay, I'm going to give this a squirt of water. I really love this style, but again, it is not particularly Springbanky, at least not at this point. Give that a squirt of water and we'll come back to it. All right, on to the Jura. Again, Jura Prophecy. Whew. Okay, so there's some nonsense superstitious story stuff going on. Basically, it's a non-age statement peated version of Jura. I remember somewhere that they were throwing some unpeated older Oloroso casks into this, but again, like there's no age statement. They don't have to hold to that. So on the internet tells me this is supposed to be unchill filtered. I do not see that stated anywhere here, but you know, I mean, maybe it's unchill filtered. Hopefully, again, there's a lot number which is impossible to read in the bottle, so I'm just going to read my notes. This is L7179. I'm guessing this is not too recent, but say around 2016. There's still, again, there's still bottles of this floating around. On particularly like European retailers still seem to have it for some reason. 46% unchill filtered, apparently. Jura Prophecy, heavily peated single malt Scotch whiskey. Yeah, so I really miss the peated Juras. I wish there were more of them around. Let me say, Jura is a funny. It's one of those. It's a recent distillery. I think they only opened it up in the 60s or 70s. And it's a distillery with a very weird, kind of sour, yogurty, fermentary character that really demands good cask management, subtle use of lots of refill casks for a long period of time. And they have the curse of ownership that really wants to put everything out with tons and tons of wood pounded into it at lowest proof possible. They are owned by White and Mackay, who are generally agreed upon by Scotch nerds to be the worst possible draw of ownership. As questionable as I find Edrington and some of the stuff they do, at least they're treating Highland Park well. White and Mackay is just, man. But this is the one release I've seen from them that has kind of struck me as integrity driven. And of course they had to stop making it. There is no age statement, but everything else is there. So now that I've babbled enough about this, let's get in on the nose. Again, not particularly Springbanky, but fun. It's a heavy, weird peat. The peat is ruling the show here, but it's not Isla peat. This is really weird stuff. It's halfway in between, like stinky barnyardy Ardmore peat or even Edradour peat, and like kind of a seasidey, twiggy Leche peat. Maybe throw some medicinal notes in there from Lefroy as well. Lots of peat. Some old bandages, some like iodine-y notes that remind me of Lefroy, but nothing else in this reminds me of Lefroy. Sea air, like a sea salt, sea breezes. But then you kind of get beyond the peat and you're getting like beets. Like you know, the root vegetable, beets, with like dirt still on them. That old wool note I was talking about is back, but now it's like really stinky. Like it got really wet and you like just left it in a closet to get rotten. There's some walnuts. It's green walnuts, but also roasted walnuts. So okay, maybe we are sort of approaching Springbanky territory. Like a dollop of yogurt and some old dog, actually. Like, you know, you're eating your yogurt and an old dog runs by. That kind of thing. Ash, black pepper. A little bit of fruitiness in there, like one Asian pear happening. But this is some stinky shit. And I'm kind of into it. I wish there was more like this around. Good nose. I like this nose. Not Springbanky, but, well, a little bit. That nuttiness thing and the weird farminess. It actually reminds me more of Longrow than it does Springbank. All right, here we go on the palate. So the palate, the nose is really fun and really weird. On the palate, it doesn't live up to it. On the palate, I don't find this super convincing. It doesn't sort of cover my mouth in the way that I would want. The finish it kind of lingers, but it's very shallow. It feels a little two-dimensional to me. Try this one more time. Yeah, lots of nice things. Medicinal peat, you know, peated bandages, barnyard, stinky barnyard animals, you know, that kind of thing. Wet old wool mustard, so that little Lechegi mustard note. Dirty beets again, green nuts, which may be some sherry. I don't know what the green nuts are. I have no idea what cask they're using this, and they're probably not going to mention it. Lots of black pepper, some ash, and something in this. Makes me think of brandy wine beer, you know, like high strength ale. There's really like a brandy wine kind of note. Some grassiness, some like freshly mowed grass, but then something grainy too. Like, so you're gonna throw like one shortbread Walker's cookie into the mix here. But it is, despite the wealth of flavors involved there, it is a hair bit flat on the palate. And I don't know what's doing that. I need more in the glass here. I'm gonna top this up. maybe it's just, I don't know, maybe they might have thrown too much colorant in here. And that's a white and Mackay kind of thing. I don't know what's cramping the palate, but something is. It feels like it's just that little bit off. So, but in any case, we'll come back to it. I'll add some water, see if that sorts things out. And lastly, the Glen Scotia. Let me give you the full stats on this. Glen Scotia, 1991. This was distilled April 17th, 91, bottled September 6th, 2013. So a while back. I bought this a while back. 22 years old, matured in a hogshead, 219 bottles, so not a particularly big hogshead, but it was cask number 1052. Again, this is a Binny's pick, and bottled at 57.6% alcohol. It has the weird signatory thing where they mention natural color, they do not mention non-filtration. But I presume, like, if they're going to go through the trouble of presenting it like this, it's got to be unchill-filtered, right? But they don't say it, so, you know. All right, Glen Scotia 91. So this is actually in Campbelltown. This is Glengyle is now the third distillery, but the perennial second fiddle to Springbank, Glen Scotia. And one of those distilleries I really wish would get more of a chance. I mean, these days they're owned by Loch Lomond. We're not the worst ownership in the world, you know, again. But, you know, I really wish someone would take over, give it a fresh coat of paint, and just give the place a chance, because they can do amazing things. I've had really good Glen Scotias. No idea if this one is good or not, but let's see. Ooh. Okay, on the nose, hello. I mean, so right up front, I'm getting an intense spearmint note, of all things. Very spearminty. I've had Glencadam, like old Glencadams do this before. Just throw tons and tons of spearmint. But you look past that, and you're starting to get green nuts, general spiciness, like lots of coffee cake, but kind of a more general, just Christmas spiciness with pepper, and some maritime notes, just kind of brininess. Irish breakfast tea, so both stewed and just raw leaves. Lots of minerality, lots of rocks going on in this. It comes off a little bit closed. So I'm going to give this a little bit of water, see if it, in a minute, see if it opens up more. It's very dense, this stuff. There's lots of little things going on, but it's so compressed, it's kind of hard to get into it. It reminds me of Hamden in that respect. You really have to sort of give it water to kind of make sense of what's totally going on. On the palate, let's give this a shot. Oh, bam. Oh God, that's good. Why didn't I buy more of this? So again, we're leading on a huge, like, mint, leaf, and peppermint explosion with a lot of nuts, both roasted and green. I may just stop the video and drink this. God, that. So I like the others. They are not going to win this. This is going to win this. Rocks, sea salt, some kind of heavier notes, like some slightly fainty notes, fermentary notes, lots of stewed tea, an extremely long finish on the mintiness, the tea, the pepper, ash, nutshells, more mint. A little old rubber, actually, and a little bit of beeriness. More lager this time than barley wine, but you know, has that sort of beery fermentary thing in common with with the Jura. Also seems quite close on the palate, though. It's very dense. There's just lots of little details. Oh, I like this a lot. I like this a lot. I'm going to give this a couple squirts. Let's give it 5. It's going to probably need that. Oh, first of all, that is right, and second, that is delicious. Oh. You know, there are days when Ardbeg puts out a new NFT release and you just want to say, fuck Scotch, I'm done, I'm moving away. I'm drinking nothing but rum and mar from now on. And then you try something like this, and it reminds you of why you got interested in the stuff in the first place. That's very good. If you can find any other 91, 92 Glen Scotias around, you may want to look into them because, god damn, y'all. All right, let's go back through. Back to the Old Pulteney 17. Now with the squirt of water. Ooh. So with water, this is a Pulteney thing. Pulteney is very much a chameleon. It can just change on you like that, especially when you add water to it. It was one of the things that really opened my eyes when I first had the 12 years ago. And right now, with water, the lemon has come out. Lots of different parts of lemon. The pith, the zest, the juice, the seeds even. A little bit of strawberry too, like green strawberry. Oh, it's so delicate though. Oh, I really hope the last two haven't blown my palate out for this, because it's so much quieter and more gentle and subtle than the others, and I'm so seduced by this style. A little cream of wheat coming through, some cinnamon stick, and even a little bit of like Kleinlishy waxiness happening, which I'm into. But overall, the water has brought out a lot of the strawberry thing and the lemony thing, which is pretty common with Pulteney. That water will do that. All right, on the palate. Ooh. So water really just buffs up the mouthfeel. I feel like this Pulteney just spent like 6 weeks on a run of Deanna Ball. Much more mouthfeel on rocks, a little wax, that kind of lemoniness, more on like lemon peel this time, and lemon pith. More floral, green strawberry. Nice grippy finish, actually. But it's not a, how do I put this? It's not a typical just wood tannin kind of finish. It's more like, I'm not really getting like tea tannins and ash as I normally would. This is more like, how do I put, like mud, but nice mud. It's really hard to explain. I love Pulteney. Pulteney is always classy. What I will say, despite the maritime notes, is this is not a particularly good Springbank substitute. If you need something to scratch that itch, this will not do it. But it is delicious, and if you can get it for a good price somewhere, grab it. 87 points for Old Pulteney 17-year-old. I like it a lot. Let's move on. Back to the Jura Prophecy, now with the squirt of water. Let's see if that... I'm really curious about the palate, because it's the palate that needs work. On the nose, though, okay. So water brings out some fudge, actually. A lot of, like, not really chocolate fudge. This is more like confectioner's fudge. Fudge made just with sugar and vanilla. And there's more barnyardiness, too. So there's more, like, stinky animals running around. A little bit of, like, what is that? Like kirsch? Cherry, like cherry spirit? Some, like, burning leaves? Campfire stuff? But overall, with water, this actually gets quite desserty. I mean, it's hugely peaty and barnyardy too, but it's really the kind of desserty confectionery elements that have taken over now, which I'm okay with. On the palate. Yeah, it does sweeten up more on the palate, but I'm still not convinced. I'm still not. It still doesn't live up to the nose. So we got barnyard, fudge, seawater, lots of seawater, peat, kind of a beery thing, but less barley wine, more like oatmeal stout now. Finish and mouthfeel are a little better, but I still want more from this. Some ground pepper in there. I mean, it's good. It's good. I can't get super excited about it, but it's okay. I would give this 86 points out of 100. Give this a Springbank substitution index of like 7.5, maybe. I mean the barnyard. Well, it's really more like a Longrow substitution index at that point, but still, give it a 7.5. 86 points. And I mean, if you can find this at retailers still, it might actually be worth it. I mean, this is around. I remember this being in U.S. retail stores for around $60 back in the day, which felt a little expensive. But now that Lefroy 10, which I don't like that much, is more expensive than that, this suddenly looks like a little bit of a bargain. So if you spot this around, this may actually be more worth the money than it was back in the day. Again, if you can get it at a good price. Did I give us a substitution index for the Old Pulteney? This gets a 6. The Pulteney gets a 6 on the Springbank substitution index. 7.5 for the Jura. But now, back to the main event. This is... the Glen Scotia is really good, y'all. All right, cleanse the palate a little bit. Try to get some of that peat out. All right, Glen Scotia 91, Signatory. Now with water on the nose. Oh God. So the mint is still there, but with water it gets just beautifully sour. There's some lemon, some yogurt. There's some like lambic beer or like sour beer, like a Duchess de Bourgogne, something like that. There's some briny pear, more nuts, aromatic flowers. It's getting a little bit springbanky now. Well, let me correct that a little bit. A lot of the notes aren't particularly springbanky, but a lot of them are. And it feels very springbanky in the way that things are, again, kind of playing off against each other. Even more so than the Pulteney or the Jura. Oh, it's a beautiful... I could nose this all day. This is a gorgeous nose. And with water on the palate, Oh God, it's nice. Again, why the hell didn't I buy more of this? Nutty. Kind of beery, but in a really nice way. It's nicely beery. Some what is that? There's some sourness going. It's like berry sourness, but not. It actually reminds me a little bit of like a Rhone Syrah, like a good San Josef or something. There's some mint, again, the minty floral stuff. It's very spicy. Pepper, cinnamon, some rhubarb in there. Some nutmeg too. Tea, but it's more like Russian caravan tea. It's a little slightly smoky tea. And there's some, just these heavy kind of slightly fainty notes. Dang, this is good. Oh, lordy. This feels like it would evolve even further in the glass if I gave it time. It still feels like a little reduced, a little dense. But score-wise, this is terrific. I'm going to give this 90 out of 100. And it does actually scratch my Springbank inch. Hold on, let me try my Springbank again. This glass in the middle, just to make sure. Well, first of all, I actually like the Glen Scotia better. But yeah, this is kind of right there. I don't think it does it as well as like a Ben Romack or something, or a Kilkerran for that matter. That's coming soon. But man, this will do it. If you can get a 91, 92 Glen Scotia at this kind of age point, this might do it. If you can, I mean, and considering prices on Springbanks, you might actually be able to get something like this cheaper than you can get an average 15 or 18-year-old Springbank. I don't know, but that would be my suspicion. So 90 points, 8.5 on the index. So yeah, good showing from my archives here. 87 for the Old Pulteney 17. 86 for the Jura Prophecy, which, despite my not being super fond of it, is easily the best official bottling of Jura I've ever had. Not the best bottling of Jura I've had, period. That would be from some independents that have gone into the 20s, where they've been just better about letting the stuff take the time to find itself. Anyhow, but 86 points, not bad, and a straight up 90 for the Glen Scotia here. Good showing, and a 6, a 7.5, and an 8.5 Springbank substitution index wise. That's all I got for this video. Thanks for watching, and cheers.